Alright, so I'm trying to platinum over 100 games in a list created by the community. Now, if I can't do this before the channel hits 850,000 subscribers, then I will shave my head bald and look like a base character from a video game. So make sure to drop a like and subscribe. Alright, so in today's video, I got the platinum trophy on Star Wars Outlaws. This is the somewhat new Star Wars game that Ubisoft released a few months ago, and since then has essentially just been one giant flop of a disaster. Whether you see the disaster as a financial thing for Ubisoft or just a disaster of a game, since it's another almost entirely soulless release from them amidst their already massive problems. I recently made a post on the channel asking if you guys wanted to see this in honor of the fabled Ubisoft challenge from over the summer, and the results were pretty staggering. Thank God I don't have to platinum my ball sack though, I appreciate it. Anyway, Star Wars Outlaws has only 50 trophies for the platinum. It takes around 40 hours to finish, but I did it in 29 because I am a Chad. The first stage of the platinum trophy is to struggle through the main story and how absolutely bad it is. You also need not worry about any missable trophies because there thankfully isn't any. Maybe Ubisoft has left us a light at the end of the tunnel after all. You know, except for their inevitable bankruptcy, that is. The Star Wars Outlaws story follows main character Kay Vess and her pet Nix on their journey to pull off the most major heist of all time and be set for life. They also bring that exact quote up over and over throughout the game. I swear to God, I'm not lying. Unless I have early onset dementia, which could be a possibility with all the tap water I drank in my childhood. But the first few hours of the story actually had us just completely failing at being a criminal, constantly getting caught in the act of robbing someone or somewhere, and overall it's a really bad look for the supposed master outlaw we claim to be. But after I tripped an alarm for like the 10th time already in this story, I actually walked over and then disabled it while it was happening, which was a trophy as a matter of fact. Regardless to the actual fact that we have already caused mass chaos, that did not change anything. But this mission I was on had the objective of breaking into the vault. This is also the same objective on many missions in this game. Don't we all just fucking love Ubisoft and their story direction choices? Indiana Jones' new game could never. 10,000 likes and I'll platinum that next, I promise. At some point later in this vault robbery, however, we did indeed get caught again, and this time more severe because we had lost our exit, leaving us with the only option to steal their ship. And the ship we stole is actually the one we used for the entirety of the rest of the game. How splendid. We now have a blaster and a ship. What else could a poor criminal need in this universe? Oh, a speeder. A speeder, you say? Oh my God! Well, alright, we have that now thanks to this man who goes by the name of Mechanic. How nice. And I also got a trophy once riding his speeder. Whoa, that sounded kind of sus. But it was for acquiring a blaster, ship, and speeder. The forbidden threesome. Anyways, we ended up making it to the main hub of this world we are on, which also sort of lets us into the free roam of this game, and I went about 2 hours with no more trophies, because there really isn't a lot of story trophies, to be honest. It's almost like the developers knew their story for this game was so non-existent, they might as well just not add trophies. How nice. But eventually I detoured away from the main story and chased down some intel, which is just like another mission line that doesn't exactly tell you what it's about, meaning you have to figure it out for yourself. It's a great and wonderful feature that I don't despise with everything. But once I did chase down this man and finish the intel thing it told me to, I got a trophy for completing my first intel chain. At some point later, I also had to jump on a speeder to escape, or rather speed up my escape from a facility I did a job in. But on the way out, I'm not sure if I was just nervous or forgot to put my contacts in this morning, but I completely ate shit and spun out crashing. However, I also apparently got a perfect landing, which was a trophy. This game's speeder is so broken, by the way, and it almost cost me another controller with how much rage it brings a sane man, or slightly sane man. The speeder is a massive part of this game's gameplay because it's an open world Star Wars game and very needed to help assist in boredom. You'd think that they would at least try and polish the damn thing a little bit, but I guess not. This is Ubisoft we were talking about. Anyways, about half an hour after that last trophy, I ended up finishing the last main quest on this first planet we are on, which is also called Tashara, by the way, and its final quest ended off with us recruiting 2 more people to the squad in an effort to get more help in our heist to end all heists. So here's that trophy once that finished up. And as I was just saying earlier about how god-awful the speeder is in this game, here's a prime example for you. For context, my speeder was not moving at a fast speed, which is what they are supposed to do, and instead just constantly turning and clipping shit. Until ultimately I clipped the out of this rock, but also somehow got a trophy for doing a 30-second power slide. They must have known Its Ilusion was playing this for a video and are trying to save themselves. I can't believe this shit. Oh yeah, and this next mission had us trying to sneak into Jabba the Hutt's palace and steal stuff. Now naturally, with how the Star Wars cinematic universe works, we got caught and then had to escape. And we actually did escape despite usually having characters turn into frozen stone. Shout out Han Solo. But upon escaping, we didn't get 3 sequels to their movie series, but instead just a trophy pop, so that's a fine consolation. mission. The next trophy I got was then from picking 20 locks with the data spike, which is the tool you get off rip in this game to lockpick things. It's fairly easy most times to lockpick with it if you just stare holes into the screen and try your best as mother always told you to. So here's that trophy pop. Anyways, about 15 minutes later, I also finished off this planet, that being Tatooine's main story missions. And before the trophy pop for that, our girl K-Vess here tried to square up with Will Smith's husband right in front of us. She wasn't game, which is weird because I heard Will Smith's husband loves inviting others into the fun. Anyways, the next planet we were off to was called Kajimi, and it's a snowy planet. Because everyone knows a good Star Wars game has to have a snowy planet and a ginger in it. Thankfully, this game doesn't have a ginger in it, so we are saved. Cal Kestis, you will always have a place in my heart. Star Wars Outlaws can never replace you, daddy. That's what I'm saying. Anyways, aside from this planet being snowy, I can't remember a single damn thing of notability we did on it. Granted, I was kind of checked out playing it because, dude, it's Star Wars Outlaws for Christ's sake. I paid $70 for this ripoff Star Wars game just so Ubisoft can try and make a positive quarter before the fiscal year ends. So yeah, here's that trophy from doing all the main story on this planet, if you could call it that. But about an hour after that, the main story kept on dragging on. However, there was finally a cool and fun mission that had us saving this droid inventor guy who made this new type of droid called the Viper, which is like an ultra strong and smart droid that is not safe for the Empire to have. So we kind of just snuck in, or rather shot our way in, and took a bunch of them out while stealing the droids and him. Upon escaping, a story trophy did indeed pop, but it wasn't for a planet this time. There's a first for everything, I guess. Just like how Ubisoft made their first Star Wars game, and also flopped their last Star Wars game. I was then in space trying to return to a planet to continue the story, but for some unknown reason, the game wouldn't let me, and I thought I was trying to fly away to Pandora or something. But as I was re-entering the vacuum of outer space, I accidentally ran into and blew up a TIE fighter. And I got a trophy for dealing the finishing blow on a ship without shooting it, so that's neat. Anyways, the game then took us to one of our final planets, that being called Akiva, which sounds like a packaged sweetener brand, but that's okay. Because this planet was honestly kind of quick and didn't take me too much time to finish all of its main story. At one point during the story, we did save a bunch of people as well, so maybe we aren't that much of an outlaw after all. Anyways, here's that story trophy. I seriously don't give a shit about this game's story. Speaking of its story, I got another story trophy sometime later when we snuck into an Empire base once again. I'm seriously doubting their security details. They need to step it up. That shit's getting sad. But once we escaped from it after entering it so hastily, I got another story trophy. A bit later, I then got a trophy from another unlocking mechanic, this time being the slice tool, which is kind of like the lockpick, except there is another added puzzle or IQ tester between you and the freedom of an open door. The puzzles, however, aren't really hard to do, so here's that trophy after slicing 20 terminals. I was also now on the final planet called Canto Blight, which was just wrapping up this non-existent story, and it basically just ended off with a flashback to Miss Vess's childhood. She looks completely different. Puberty really did hit her like a truck, didn't it? God damn. Anyways, here's that trophy. So it's now the final mission of the game, and it had us in space this time, finally getting to do some space stuff. And we had to destroy this giant ship called the Revelator to quote-unquote save the day. So I did, and it was actually kind of fun despite this game's space combat being a tad bit AIDS in the process. There was then a very long section of wrapping up cutscenes talking to a bunch of characters, and I couldn't tell you a single thing they said if I had a gun to my head. That's just how forgettable this game is. But I'm sure my wallet is never gonna forget the $70 I spent to play it. That shit hurts, bro. I could have got DoorDash like twice for that much money. Shameless. But now it's time for stages 2 and 3, which both combine into a big old cleanup that I kind of did randomly, both due to strategy, of course, and also because I got bored very fast in this part of the grind. Which is understandable because this game sucks. However, my first objective was to go find all of the expert quests around the game and do them, both for a trophy, but also to unlock all of the abilities I need to for many other trophies and key aspects of this game. The first new trophy I did get, however, was just from discovering all planet areas on a planet, and this definitely is not the entire game because there's no way in hell I found every area in the game. And I know this because I did not explore during the story, but this trophy did pop. And one of the most annoying parts of this game was the Empire, because they control a large portion of the open world, and even just stepping into their bubble makes them want to kill you. And I wasn't having none of that, so I evidently fought back numerous times, and at one point I raised my 1 level to the max tier, which then spawned in a Death Trooper squad to kill me. And I basically just said psych to that and killed them instead. instead, which then got me a trophy for clearing my Wanna level from completing that event. An honest day's work. My next trophy was then hours upon hours later, and it was from doing all of those expert quests I mentioned earlier, which give you abilities and stuff, but overall they are just annoying because most are super unobvious as to what the hell you're supposed to do with them, and a lot of YouTube searches were needed in finishing this off. Evidently I did, however, and here's that trophy. And one of those abilities got them from the experts, by the way, was Adrenaline Rush, but it was the upgraded version. This allows up to 6 enemies to be shot in one use of it, and upon defeating 6 enemies with one use of the Adrenaline Rush, you get a trophy pop. I was also doing all of this manslaughter inside my lowest faction's approval, that being the Pikes, which brings me to this messy feature in this game. Star Wars Outlaws has like 4 factions or syndicates divided into the Ashiga clan, the Hutt cartel, the Crimson Dawn, and the Pikes. These 4 all run differing parts of the crime world and are all really important for us to get on their good sides for lots of trophies, but I did the easier version and just got on one of their bad sides as worst as I could, which was a trophy. However, doing that would bite me in the ass because it took forever to get the Pikes approval back, which sucks. A faction I was good in with was the Crimson Dawn though, and my next trophy was from getting my reputation with them to max. A lot easier said than done, however, but it's fine. And after being max reputation with a faction, you also then get access to their bases completely and some discounted, even VIP items in their shops. After buying a VIP item, you also get a trophy, by the way. My next 2 trophies were then both from maxing out relations with more factions. First the Ashiga and then the Hutt cartel. And if you can't tell by now, that is also what my focus has shifted to in terms of trophies. Maxing out all these idiots so I never have to do another goddamn contract for them again. I'm going insane. Oh yeah, I forgot to say, that's how you increase relationships, by the way. You do jobs for them, which are all just fetch quests. Sorry I didn't mention that. Hopefully you think I wasn't just whoring around to make them like me. That's something only my ex-girlfriend would do. My apologies for the confusion. Oh my God. But on the path to getting the last one maxed out, being the Pike clan like I mentioned, it took me a considerable amount of time compared to the others, and a lot of trophies were gotten in between. First being from slicing 10 advanced terminals. This is just the same as the normal one, but with more, hence the advanced part. I also completed 40 contracts total, and way before being maxed with the Pike clan. I'm going to die inside. So I kind of just gave up on maxing my relationship with them because I was just not getting anywhere, which is primarily due to this game not giving me any work for them at all, since that's just how it's coded, I guess. I don't know, this game is shit. But the next trophy I got was from trying all these street food with Nix, and this is one of the only unique things in this game that I actually enjoy doing. There's 4 types of food and each has a quick time event minigame to finish them. My only complaint is that Nix is always happy. This son of a bitch thinks everything's just sunshine and rainbows, doesn't he? So yeah, aside from that, here's the trophy. I then spent an hour tracking down all of the Nix treasures, which is one of the few true collectibles of this game. But it basically just has you go to landmarks that he knows and then follow him around. And huge thanks to the guide I did follow. But anyways, here's the trophy from getting them all. There was then a trophy from listening to a man going through a midlife crisis at a bar. The typical stereotype. I then went down this rabbit hole chasing after 2 sets of gear. The Disruptor gear, which I got right here, and then the Scoundrel gear set, which I got right here. Both had trophies tied to them, but to be honest, it was so confusing to get. If I didn't have a guide to help me, I would have pulled a Marvel Rivals on you all. Get it? Get it? That's a joke. Anyways, my next trophy was in from pickpocketing someone in a cantina on every planet, which is kind of hard to do because people can almost never be pickpocketed in these places since they are scared. But eventually, after enough respawns over and over, someone breaks the code and you can. With this trophy happening eventually. I then got to play against Lando in a match of Sabak, which is this game's card gambling game, but you can and have to cheat to win. So upon beating him, I got a trophy and it really wasn't that hard to do. I then got the high score on an arcade game next, which only took me 2 tries to do, and I'm honestly proud of myself. Mini games inside of games have always proven to be my downfall in past occasions. I also did this side feature that is basically useless, but you can get info on who's gonna win this game's virtual horse race and then bet on that info to cheat and win. So I did that and got a trophy from doing it. But seriously, this game is so useless, you don't even win a lot of money. I was then kind of back in the contract grind after my mini retirement like Thomas Brady, and during this I got 5 kills at once using the Adrenaline Rush while on a speeder. Very easy, and here it is. I also finally figured out how to do a trophy from being at a level 5 wanted and getting bailed out by a crooked Imperial officer. Turns out it's not hard. You literally just get to tier 5, then run into the city a bit to find one and ask him to bail you out for credits. So here's that trophy. I then did another wanted trophy, but this time in space, taking out a raider ship to clear my wanted level, which was actually kind of hard to do and I almost died, but I didn't, so I got the trophy. Now since I was already in space, I went over to the Kojima Nebula, which is a portion of that planet's surrounding orbit area that is covered in thick clouds and you can barely see in it. Which is why there was a trophy for killing 10 enemies inside of it, because the Ubisoft developers hate us. But I did do it easily, and here's that trophy. I then, quite a while later, finally fully upgraded the blaster, getting the trophy from that feature as well. And I also fully upgraded the ship, which is misleading because it doesn't actually take all upgrades to get the trophy. It just kind of pops when it wants to, so that's funny. I then unlocked the ship loop skill and spent a few tries lining up the perfect loop into kill for another trophy pop. And hours upon hours later, I finally reached max with the Pike faction. Yup, I almost forgot they existed too. But getting them max took me forever, and that's because when a faction is at poor or lower like they were, you get almost zero contracts for them, making it hard to get them to a good relationship because then you would get contracts. Overall, it's just a fucking scam, just like this game is, so it makes sense honestly, I'm not even surprised. So that's almost all the hard or tedious trophies done with. I then went on a little combat trophy spree and did one from defeating 20 enemies using items fetched by Nyx, which is very simple if you just ask him to grab a gun off the floor and give it to you. Then kill enemies with it. Easy peasy, baby. I also blinded 30 enemies with Nyx right after, which is also easy because you can do it on the same dude or groups of dude over and over. And I finally had to grind out 20 fast talk kills, which is the worst out of these by far because it requires you to reset over and over 20 times using the easy method. I don't want to know what the hard method is. I would probably crash out. But then I only had one more trophy, and it's from defeating each faction's capital ship in space without taking a whole damage. Now that sounds like bullshit as bullshit can be, so there's thankfully a workaround, which is to just ram into them over and over until they are on 1 HP, deliver the final blow with your laser guns, and celebrate when the trophy pops, with that platinum added on. And no, I don't know why that works, but it does. So that was the Star Wars Outlaws Platinum Trophy experience. Yes, I did platinum the game, and sorry for not doing Marvel Rivals, but I'm also not, because I stated clearly in that video that I was just doing a challenge to see how many trophies I could get in 24 hours, if you actually watched and, you know, listened. But anyways, stay mad if you want. That is not my problem. Star Wars Outlaws, however, is a problem because it's straight dookie poopy trash. I did not enjoy it at all, probably even less than most people because I knew it was bad going in and I didn't really give the game a chance, honestly. It's more fun to shit on Ubisoft games for me personally, so yeah, rating it out of 10, I'll give Star Wars Outlaws a 1. Only because, obviously it's a bad game, but they also had a shitload of lag at some points and Darth Vader got thrown in during the story for no reason. You can't just put Darth Vader in your game and expect it to save it. Come on now, Ubisoft. God damn, this is why we're failing. Where is Assassin's Creed Shadows at?